Okay, so we went offline on Instagram because it was hot. There's lighting that we're using to make sure that I'm seen. Because sometimes people feel comfortable to see whom they're talking to. And it's very hot in here. And I was actually saying, something is vibrating at a hotness that's happening. Just before we went off, I was touching on actually why spiritually gifted people and sex. And I was saying that, especially for people who have initiated and have come out with with spiritual healing energy, or baba izangoma or zinyanga or profita, you'd be want not to have multiple partners kakulu, is because, as I explained earlier on, when you're finding yourself with people who are vibrating at a lower spiritual frequency than you are, or energy vampires, people who suck on your energy, it will get sucked and sucked. So your ability to transfer healing energy becomes it thins. So that's why it was less of vala or valega. It's because it thins and it thins, and it means that your own connection to the healing energy and those who are gifting you of that healing energy deters.
So I'm just waiting for questions to load.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Tulani, let's go with your questions.
Yeah.
But nobody has asked me about how do I have enjoyable sex, right? Because it's interesting. Do you know that in the relationship, if you're having great healthy sex, you've got great health sex, that the relationship 90% of the time works. And when sex goes wrong, 90% of the things fall apart. So even when there's issues of infidelity, and remember, when we are all prone to make those things. I mean, myself included, we are all prone to go and do things because we're seeking something in other people. Actually, the minute we start becoming attracted to other people, we are attracted sometimes to people who are mirroring the experiences that we're seeking, and we see it in them. And sometimes you're attracted to other people because there's something in us that needs to be filled. There's a void, that needs to be filled, so that we feel that only the other can fulfill for us. So when somebody has infidelity is when somebody cheats. And I always say to people, I don't believe that everybody is born for monogamy. Because monogamous relationships are not for everyone. So if sex is an energy that connects us, it means that we can be connected to multiple people. But you don't have to have intimacy. Does not always require penetration. Intimacy can be experienced in other forms. So when you go and you cheat or you do things behind your partner's back, remember when you've come with somebody else, because there's been a sexual energy so there's some sort of sacredness and convenance that happens with that particular partner. So when you go behind their back and you come back and you have slept with somebody else, something in your aura will tell. Why when there starts to be affairs, people fight a lot, they don't agree. Because aura says something is disturbed. Some agreement has not been fulfilled. So if you realize you're not monogamous, go and be open and honest about it. I always say that. Be honest and say that this is who I am. I mean, we know, Guti, in ancient times, actually no one belonged to anyone. Institutions of marriage did not exist. Because marriage to one person is like, I own you, because it's about control and domination. I own you, you own me. But different strokes for different folks. I'm not here to dictate to you how you have to love and express your place of love. All I'm asking that in all that you do, let there be a level of truthfulness. And if you have lived untruthfully, what are the lessons you need to learn to live a life of integrity? Because that's why we like scandals so much, and like infidelity. And there were people trending on social media over the weekend about sex tapes. Because what that does, and I say to people who are negative and who celebrate negativity, so when somebody goes down and we're like, yeah, who did they finally it has come out? I say it's people who have very limiting belief systems, because they don't see their value. They can only feel valuable by bringing another person down. Because somebody who's content and feels valuable and worth enough within themselves, when somebody else goes down, they feel their pain because they understand what it's like to miss the mark. Missing the mark is to make a mistake. Making a mistake, sin, it's a Greek word to commit sin is to miss the mark.
Sure.
Togoza Gogo, what is the African take on masturbation?
I mean, from as early as when we are kids. Why, when we're kids, we touch ourselves? Because, you know, to masturbate for me, it's an act of self-love and understanding your body. Because we go into love making expecting the other person to give, but we don't know how to receive. So when you're masturbating, you're self-exploring. You know what your body is asking or what your needs are. So it's not a bad thing to go. But excessive, anything in excessive that you cannot even perform, you cannot function properly until you do something. Once it becomes addictive, then it's a problem. You understand? Most people discover, especially for women, masturbation is very good for women, because we understand that as the feminine energy that nurtures. To nurture is nature, and nature is expansive. So as women, we are expansive. That's why they say they are multitaskers. You're thinking of, what am I going to make for the kids for breakfast before school? What is the lunch box? So I've got a meeting at 10 o'clock. You understand? So when you masturbate, you tend to learn to be present to the moment, because that's how you can actually get to a state of orgasm. And orgasm is a state of ultra pleasure. And women, because we are such givers, we always feel guilty when we pleasure ourselves, or when we do things and make us self-content.
So the next two questions are more or less the same, Baba, so can I please read two of them? They're not that long. So the first one says, when having sex, is there bad consequences for not taking off the rope on your waist? The other Gogo says, what is the significance, if any, of waist beads or mutlamo in sexual energy?
Okay, because we need to understand what are the intentions of why you're wearing what you are wearing. Because some people can put that to actually cultivate sexual energy or a libido that has been lost. But if you are given, because the minute somebody puts things on you, they need to tell you the instructions, the do's and don'ts. So I can't come and dictate, these are the implications. But if you are told not to have sex, it means the repercussions, or it's going to diffuse the intention of why you were wearing what you're wearing. Because everything that we wear or every ritual we perform is because we are intending to achieve particular results. So if we're not respectful of those things, then we are deterring from the purpose in which we are doing what we are doing.
Gay sex.
Yes.
Does it have the same implications as the opposite sex? As in, like, opposite sex having sex?
The implications. So, I mean, if sex is an energy, and energy has no gender. Spirit has no gender. Spirit has no, you are a woman. It has no anatomy. And you know what's interesting? If you look at how we get, when we are formed in our mother's womb, we all begin as females. And that's why in African spirituality we revere the feminine energy so much, because we understood that that's a life force on its own. So when you are engaging with somebody, whether it's a straight relationship or a heterosexual or an asexual relationship, those things shouldn't actually be matter, because it's about, when you want something pleasurable, it's about how do you give of yourself and how are you willing to receive. Because sometimes people cannot experience sexual pleasure because they don't want to receive. They are afraid of being vulnerable, or they've got past painful experiences or memories that what the act of sex does to them opens them up into, it's a reminder of painful experiences that they've encountered.
Togoza Gogo, is it normal for an orgasm to escalate to transcendence stage?
Yes. Yes, because when you are in an orgasmic state, like I said, you stop thinking you are a human. So your human inhibitions and your human limitations cease. Then something in you comes alive. You tend to experience that there's divinity in you in which that radiates. There's divinity radiating within you.
There's a question that says, Togoza Gogo, can ancestors block you from falling pregnant?
Yes, they can. Because remember, if you're a healer, you're a life giver. You're a facilitator of life giving. Because even with all the children that we have, from my own spiritual understanding, is that actually we are just custodians of those children. They don't belong to us. They belong to the heavens. They belong to God. They belong to spirit. So if you are not in honor, again, I said earlier on, if you're not in honor of what your soul agreed to why it had to come on this planet, then you cannot be honored by other things. Because if they're blocking you from giving birth or having children, is if you are incapable of doing you right, where do you have the capacity to do others right? So if you are unable to gift of yourself, if you are lacking in yourself, where would you have a full cup to offer the other? So blockages, whether it's children or anything in our lives, you know, it all starts with us. That the one whose cup is full has more to share. The one who has a cup empty is working on a negative. It's working on you are working at a negative. You have nothing, and that's why people feel I'm being used, I'm being abused. You know, I've experienced so much challenges in my life this year, and my understanding is never that anybody is doing something towards me. It hurts me, it breaks my heart, because even though I'm a spiritual being, I'm still human. So I'm not detached from human feelings and human experiences. But what I always tell myself, that when I'm experiencing pain or hurt, I'm being invited to elevate to the next level of my soul purpose. That's how I take it. So when things are happening to me, I don't fall victim of those things. I ask myself, what is Spirit trying to teach me? What are God's lessons for me? What am I needing to awaken to in order for me to rise to the next level of my soul's growth?
Towaza Baba, during intercourse, I have visions of people wearing red and black smeared in white stuff, and they have chickens on their back. And then I pass out, fall asleep. What does this mean?
That's what it means. There's something spiritual that's happening.
Okay, somebody.
But you see, I like questions like that. Doesn't that tell when I said sex is a spiritual, there's sex and spirituality? For you to experience izinto zetlozi while being intimate. Because it means that you transcend. Somebody asked about you transcend in that space, because it means there's something in you that's able to surrender in an act of love making, that awakens something for you, that awakens why you are here.
So somebody's sending love. They're saying, Lisedi, Khanya, Gogo, just wanted to say you look beautiful with your short hair.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Togoza Gogo, does period sex have any impact on anything?
Period sex. So there's multiple belief systems about period sex or sex on your periods. I think it's
I think it's sex on your periods.
Because remember when in the olden days, women were prohibited from doing certain things because they're on your period. I mean, if you're a woman out there, you know what PMS is all about. It works you up, right? So because remember, the reason we have our periods, now I want to speak like a medical doctor, is because there's an egg that was not fertilized. There's a life that did not get created. So the egg breaks, then the blood gets shed. I think my biology class is coming back to me. So something that happens. So when you're going through that transitioning, when you go through that experience, it takes a toll on your body. So your energy levels get drained, right? So if your energy levels are drained and your aura, and you have a headache, some people have intense period pains, and then you want to give of yourself to somebody else, it becomes sometimes very difficult. Right? And remember when I said when we are in the act of sexual energy, love making, we are transferring energy. We leave an imprint of ourselves onto the other. So if you are having your periods and the energy in which you're vibrating in, because your body is taking through and it's shedding off, I need to explain something. Going on your periods is not dating. Because people always think that's why you can't, because you go. No, you are self-purifying. Life was not happening. So your body is cleansing itself of a life that didn't get created. So when you're going through an act of cleansing or an act of releasing, why are you wanting to be receiving? Right? Unless if you are vibrating at a different kind of energy vibration that you are able to both release and like letting go and letting come, because people can do that. We are not all vibrating at the same frequency. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of self-awareness work. And working and continuously work. We are, you know why we are all here? The main purpose is to self-realize. That's why we are all here, to self-realize, to self-work all the time. You can never say, I'm done working on myself. Because if you are of nature and nature is spirit, it means you are continuously growing. A tree begins like this, goes like this, it goes like this. And the higher you grow, the challenges are also higher. So you cannot want to be experiencing challenges as an adult like you experience when you're a child. When you're a child, your frustration is that you are trying to walk and you can't walk, you keep on falling. The difference with adults and children is that children have a sense of, I know I can do it. They have a sense of, I don't give up. Because they understand that falling, it's a way in which one needs to learn to walk. But as adults, when we fall, we always tell ourselves that it means we have failed. But falling can mean that actually you need to be properly planted in order for you to sprout.
Hallelujah.
Thokoza
You
Gogo.
don't have questions?
No, like most of the questions are the ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I think Dr. Selector is also fascinated. Yes.
Thokoza Gogo, if you are not married to someone and they die, is it necessary to drink the pizza, or can one just move on with their lives and have sexual intercourse with someone else going forward?
If I say to you that every time you sleep with somebody, they leave their imprint. So if they die, so it means that something physically happens to them and you've had something physical with them. To cleanse yourself is to help you to also detach. Because the pizza is not only to clean you because of failure or sebumnyamen. The pizza is also to help you detach, to help you transition from being with this particular physical form that no longer exists. So you are honoring that this physical form doesn't exist anymore. So I also need to transition so my life can move on.
There's a question that says, what causes women to have a low sex drive?
Because women, there's many causes, but one of the most common causes, right now we live in society where women have to take multiple roles. You know, we're in relationships where women have to be both providers and receiver. Like, if you're a very busy woman and you're a hardworking woman, you come home from work, you have to cook, clean the house, cater for the kids. There's no way that your libido, if libido is a life force, and that life force gets cultivated by giving to self. I spoke about it earlier on. So if there are nothings that are feeding you, and when you are always doing and giving, your libido decreases. Your own sexual energy decreases. Because we find also that women step into relationships because I get this thing of, I'm the woman, a woman empowerment, and there's nothing wrong with those things because of historical injustices and inequalities that we need to address. But the feminine energy in its nature is to nurture, but it needs to be nurtured to nature. Right? So if you are in relationships where you are also not being given, you are the only giver, something is off balance. You will not have a libido. If you are in a relationship where you have to provide for the family and still nurture your family by cooking a meal and cleaning the house and doing the kids' homework, so it means you are both male and masculine. So if you are both, you are carrying both those two things, something is off balance, because we get into relationship to be in a dance together, and those things can be interchangeable, because sometimes the man can be very feminine in the energy and the woman can be masculine, but it's that we can't find the balance or the dance into those energies, and that you are depleted. When you are depleted, life force cannot arise.
So you're getting a lot of fireworks, a lot of clapping hands, a lot of it's about time. Thank you so much, Gogo. And somebody said you just set the standard high when it comes to ubungoma and knowledge.
Hallelujah.
Because you see, for me, I think I don't want these conversations with Gogo Dineo just to be about ubungoma. Right? Ubungoma is an incremental part of who we are as Africans, sets and lays the foundation of our own spirituality and our understanding of who we are as Africans. However, we encounter certain things in life that we need to have conversations about. So hit us on Instagram about what would you like the next topic to be. Because I don't want to dictate. Remember, this topic was a call by the people, and what Gogo did is listened to the people and followed the people and gave the people what the people were hungry for. So what would you like to understand next? Because I always speak about Ubungoma, and there's, you know, this topic, we're expanding on it so much. Go on my YouTube channel, you know, follow me on YouTube. There's a lot of video clips around that I speak about Ubungoma, but there are other things, because I always say to people, the awakening to your spiritual call creates turbulence, which we experience as suffering. So now that we awaken and Ubungoma, how are you going to address or readdress the turbulences that have left an imprint in you? Some of them are psychological, some of them are physical. So are you going to ignore them because you've just become a Sangoma? No, that's not enough. There are other things. You are a holistic being, you are a body, mind, and spirit. And if something is not at ease in the mind needs to be set at ease by applying other methods of healing.
So somebody just sent you a really beautiful message. It says, Gogo, we are so appreciative of this conversation. I hope you remember this when you are tired and not feel like doing anything. We thank the heavens for you.
Thank you so much, because I do get tired, because I do a lot of work. And I want to appreciate, the reason I did this, and let me remind people, is because I was getting a lot of requests about things. And unfortunately, I cannot sit on social media answering people's dreams. I run a practice. If you really need my help, DM me, I'll send you a practice number where you can book for a proper consultation. And by coming to us, we don't promise miracles, because we are only facilitators of change. So if we are facilitators of change, it means sometimes, even in an attempt to facilitate change, the soil is not ripe enough to actually give us some fruits. Or, you know, like there's a lot of things, there's a lot of multiple factors. So please, don't ask me any questions about this topic after here, because I will not respond. And I don't mean to be mean, I mean to do me.
Yeah, someone is asking if you can talk about polygamy.
Okay. What about polygamy do you want to understand? Okay, let me tell you. I spoke earlier on and I said the minute you invite somebody else into the relationship and there's an act of dishonesty, is a dishonoring of the other. So when you've been invited into a polygamous relationship, you can't be invited by one partner, because that partner is not in a relationship with themselves, is in a relationship with somebody else. It needs to be an invitation, a call that comes from both. And from my own understanding, historically, how polygamy came to be, because we owned land and we worked in our own land, it was a woman's suggestion, which sidinga ukulekelelwa like I, or sihluleka ngamandla, so we're needing somebody, because polygamy or polyandry, because polygamy is when a man marries more than one wife, polyandry is when a woman marries more than one husband. So the minute we invite another person into the relationship, is because there's something that is lacking in the relationship, and the partner that is coming into the relationship is there to add value. Because those relationships is, what is the value add, right? And it's very important that the conversations happen with your partner first before they happen with whom you are trying to bring into the picture. And it's also very important that whoever you're bringing into the picture is coming to complement, not complete your relationship, but complement, meaning their values, their principles are coming. Value add means there is synergy and the synchronicity. Because something that's going to add value, but a lot of people with polygamy, it's my culture, I'm an African man, so I shall do this. Yes, more favor, because don't use culture to deter us, you know, because that's how people would see African culture as very oppressive. Culture is a way of life. So the way of life of Africans, when polygamous relationships were at a ripe, there was a particular need in which polygamy needed to serve. So if there's still a need right now, what is the need? And are you able to maintain more than one relationship? Because some people are bringing a partner to resolve the current problems in the relationships. They're not there to resolve the relationship issues between you and your partner. They're there to complement. So you can't complement something that's broken. You're only going to break it apart even further.
Wow.
Because sometimes people do that. They think it's going to fix their things.
Okay. So with 4 minutes to go, time flies when you have fun. Togoza Gogo, I've lost my baby at 26 weeks pregnant a year ago. I did not cleanse. So far, I don't have unusual dreams. I've made peace. Is it necessary for me to cleanse before I have sexual intercourse?
Cleansing is when you cleanse when you've lost a baby, is to honor that there was a life that lived inside you. You actually carried a life, and it's to allow for the spirit of that child to also transcend and return back to source. And you are saying by it returning back to source, may it come back as a spirit guide to you and your family and your loved ones. So when we're not in honor by doing what we call cleansings, so what happens is that when that spirit needs to transcend, it struggles to go to the other side, and it hovers over the life of your loved ones and your beings. And that's why or you can't fall pregnant again, because you have not allowed another spirit being to transcend. How then are you going to harbor or incubate another? Let go and let come.
So somebody's asking for lyrics of Ingwenyama Yama Balabala.
Which one? Because there's two Ingwenyama Yama Balabala songs. Before we end the conversation, ask, because there's, oh no, Ingwenyama, is it Ingwenyama Yama Balabala?
I think so,
Ingwenyama Yama Bala. Batu Ingwenyama Yama Bala.
Hala, Ingwenyama Yama Bala. Hala.
Ingwenyama Yama Bala.
Hala, Ingwenyama Yama Bala. Hala.
Ayila Ingwenyama Yama Bala. Hey, eating those notes. Hey, maybe we should speak about the significance of music. Or in African spirituality, why is music and dance so important? And they only thought, when we got colonized, they only thought the only thing we were good at was dancing and singing, but they didn't understand that in the songs and in the dancing, as you hit the ground, you evoked power. As you sang, you understood and connected to divinity. And people who are connected to their divine selves are people who can create life forces. Because as Africans, once we lost ourselves and lost our grounding, we lost ourselves.
Thokoza Baba, much love for you tonight. Thank you for the love that oozes nolompati.
Unolo.
It says,
When people call me Baba, I know there's something they know about me. Yes.
It says, thank you for the love that oozes out of you. May your teachings live forever. Thokozani nani nonke empandeni.
My legacy lives. You know? That's what I know. I tend to understand. And you see, once we understand our divine purposes, there are no competitions. So when people will say, why are people competing? People who compete is people who don't know who they are. Because they're seeking themselves in others. But once you know who you are, you will follow your path. You will slay in your lane. You will not be seeking to slay in other people's lane. Nobody's here to take away your shine. Everybody who's shining their light bright is to brighten your own light. But if you cannot brighten your own light, no one can brighten it for you. We are here to complement, not compete with each other.
Okay, so there's a poll going on. They want the topic to be about music and... Like, wow.
So it means at the next Instagram live, there'll be lots of singing, and we'll be featuring DJ Peggy Zero on our soloist. I say the man, when he sings, something in me evokes. I get goosebumps, and goosebumps is an affirmation that I am an energy expressed in the body. I am spirit being human. And that's what music and dance. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. And what you could do is, when you're tuning in, make your song request. We might not know all the songs, but just tell us which song you want to sing, and I can speak about the significance of each song and what is it inviting us to pay attention within ourselves, because every song, it's a ministry. Every song has a message.
Wow. Okay, everybody's just hands, dancing, love,
Yes,
everything.
they're
Guess they're excited, Baba.
Yes. So let me say, maybe in closing, you said we've got how many minutes now?
I think it's a minute. It's
Okay.
not counting anymore.
Yes. So what's happening is that we need to understand with every experience we're experiencing, even with love making, it's really to self-discover. But sometimes when we ourselves are, when we When you as an individual are unconscious of yourself, sex can be a very traumatic experience. And we cannot also take away that people have had childhood experiences that have traumatized them. And that's why healing is important, and that's why self-work is important, because to heal is to let go, to forgive is gifting yourself your life back. So when you do all those acts of working on yourself, is to know that you are valuable enough and that you are of worthiness and you deserve greatness in your life, that the old does not exist, it's just a memory. The only time we've got is this moment, because the future has not yet manifested. If you cannot enjoy this moment, it's impossible to try enjoy what's going to come, because once it comes, you'll want what is next. But if you can be here and understand this is the time and the moment you have, and say, how do I find peace within this time, happiness and joy within this time? You cannot find it in others. You are the truth that you are seeking within self. You are truly yourself.
Wow.
Thokozani.
Thokoza.
Till we meet again.
You're on Metro FM tomorrow. I need to go.
Yeah.